Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a powerful framework for getting better at, well, pretty much anything. It's built on a simple idea. How you learn might be even more important than what you learn. And it all starts with a really fascinating puzzle from the world of video games. So for decades, the world records for the classic Nintendo game Tetris barely moved. They were basically set in stone. But then, all of a sudden, a new generation of players comes along and just starts demolishing those records, hitting scores that people literally thought were impossible. So what happened? It's not like humans suddenly evolved better thumbs. Well, the difference is just night and day. Think about it. Back in the 90s, you were kind of on an island. You learned from the kids on your block, and that was it. Top strategies were basically trade secrets. One former champion, Dana Wilcox, played for years without even knowing you could rotate the pieces both ways. Now, fast forward to today. A brand new player can tap into a global brain of Tetris knowledge, watching live streams of a pro's every single button press, breaking down strategies on forums, the works. And that gets to the heart of it. This wasn't about a handful of individual geniuses. It was about a total transformation of the learning environment. The players didn't get smarter. Their system for learning got smarter. And the system they built gives us a roadmap for how we can learn anything more effectively. It turns out you can boil this whole process down to a really simple, powerful three-part framework. First, you see how it's done right. Then, you do it yourself. And finally, you get feedback so you know how to adjust. See, do, feedback. When you get all three of these things working in concert, your progress can absolutely explode. Okay, so let's dig into that, starting with the very first pillar, see. This is all about learning from the people who've already put in the work and figured things out. Now, this might sound a little weird to us today, right? We have this obsession with pure, original creativity. But for the Renaissance masters, guys like Leonardo da Vinci, the path to becoming a master started with, well, with copying. Seriously, apprentices would spend years just reproducing the work of the masters before they even thought about creating something new. And what's really cool is that modern psychology totally backs this up with an idea called cognitive loads theory. The basic idea is this. Your working memory, the part of your brain that's actively thinking, is like a tiny, tiny workbench. If you try to build something complex from scratch, you'll clutter it up instantly. But if you study a finished example first, you clear off that workbench. You free up all that mental space to actually notice the important patterns and absorb the core strategy. So let's be super clear about this. Looking at examples isn't cheating. It's not some lazy shortcut. It's actually the most efficient way to get started because you're strategically managing your brain's limited resources. You can build that foundational knowledge way faster than if you try to reinvent the wheel every single time. All right, so once you've seen how it's done, it's time for pillar number 2, do. Because, watching from the sidelines only gets you so far. Eventually, you have to get your hands dirty. And there's this fantastic story about the celebrated science fiction writer Octavia Butler that just perfectly illustrates this. Early in her career, she went to this intense writing workshop where the rule was you had to write a brand new short story every single night. That sheer volume of practice, it was completely transformative for her. And her experience really highlights a critical idea for effective practice. You've got to find the difficulty sweet spot. See, if what you're doing is too easy, you're just coasting. You're not growing. But if it's way too hard, you just get discouraged and quit. The real magic happens right on the edge of your current ability, in the state that researchers sometimes call productive failure. You're struggling, sure, but you're actually making progress. And this right here explains why that sweet spot often feels so difficult. It's because novices and experts are playing two completely different games. Novices often do what's called knowledge telling. They just kind of dump information out as it pops into their head. It feels easy. But experts, they're doing knowledge transforming. They are wrestling with complex problems, structuring arguments, shaping ideas. It's way more effortful, and that's precisely why it leads to real growth. Okay, so you're seeing, you're doing, but there's a third crucial piece of the puzzle that makes the whole thing work, and that's feedback.
This is the part that tells you if what you're doing is actually working.
We have this idea baked into our culture, right? That experience is everything. You just put in the time, rack up the hours, and you'll automatically become an expert. But is that really true? Well, the research is kind of shocking. The answer is a hard no. In fact, in some professions, it's the total opposite. One really stunning study found that for some doctors, the quality of care they provided actually went down the longer they were out of medical school. And why? Because they weren't getting clear, reliable feedback. Without that feedback loop, experience doesn't equal expertise. It just equals repetition.
You can see the incredible power of a good feedback loop in the history of poker. Back in the day on the riverboats, being a good player mostly meant being a good cheat. Then you get to the casino era, where the pros relied on feel and intuition. But today's top players, they came from the world of online poker, where they have something way more powerful than intuition. They have data.
And the result of that data is just mind-boggling. Because they can play multiple tables at once online, a 23-year-old today has probably played more hands of poker than an 84-year-old casino legend has seen in their entire life. But it's not just the sheer volume. After a session, they can download and analyze every single hand, getting cold, hard statistical feedback on every decision. That is a learning loop on steroids.
Okay, so we've talked Tetris, Da Vinci, and poker. Let's bring this all home. What does this see-do feedback model actually mean for you when you're trying to learn something new?
Well, it gives you a framework, a kind of personal diagnostic tool for your own learning. So the next time you feel stuck, you can ask yourself, which part of my loop is broken? Am I not seeing enough high-quality examples to begin with? Is my practice, the doing part, either too easy or way too hard? Or am I just not getting any clear, honest feedback to tell me what to fix? Just by strengthening one of those pillars, you can often get the whole engine running again.
And that really leaves us with a final question for you to take away. Think about that skill you're trying to master right now, whether it's learning to code, to paint, to be a better public speaker, or even to play Tetris. Take a second and ask yourself, where is the weakest link in my learning loop? And what's one small thing I can do today to make it stronger?